What up guys, Joachim here, and this video is kind of going to go over some of the ways that I use, or I used Duolingo in the past and that I think are beneficial. Once I read through the stuff on the tip section, which I can go over, I've gone over in other videos, so I won't go over again in this one, but I usually read through the stuff in the tip section. I don't study it, I just read it. And then, it's good. Duolingo is a great beginner resource to learning a lot of sentences, a lot of basic vocabulary that may not come up in regular speech, but might also be assumed that you would know in any language that you're learning. So the way that I typically have used it, and that I think is a good way to use Duolingo, is not to go through every section over and over and over and over again. I think it's good to learn to type. I think it's good to do a lot of things that come up and that you will learn through Duolingo using the keyboard that is appropriate to your language, since a lot of the ways that we interact in the languages that we use in every language currently is through the internet. So it's really good to be able to do those things. If you can't, then it will significantly limit your ability to communicate, and Duolingo is effective at helping you to do that. So I can type in Greek, which you'll see me do here in a minute. But this is just an example. This would be appropriate to any language that you're learning. Obviously, my language is Greek. I've studied other languages in the past. I've developed, a pretty good understanding of each of those languages along the way, but probably Greek will be the one that I focus on almost indefinitely, since I plan to take it through its modern form and then learn medieval Byzantine Greek, then going back through history, learning Koine Greek of the 1st century, and then maybe eventually ancient Greek. But so obviously I won't use Duolingo for those because those languages aren't on Duolingo, but Duolingo is effective for basic beginner modern Greek, and that's what I'm using it for. So this sentence says, I give the chocolates to an ape. Okay, not a very practical sentence maybe, but the vocabulary that's used in this sentence is things that are very good to know, and it's very good to know the structure of how you do it. So I give in Greek is one word, and it's dino, and it gives you an example of how to say it. So dino, dino ti sacolata.
Ti, cioccolata.
Dino ti sacolata se enan pithico.
Pithico.
Okay, and I'll check it. I am testing out of this section right now. That's how I do each one. I go through the first couple of checkpoints on Duolingo, and then I just test out of the rest of the course. And sometimes I use Google Translate if necessary to help with that. And you can see I had used it for something else, and it had the word pithico in it, which is ape or monkey. But okay, so that's not where I end though. So I'm going to go over here to my Anki deck, and I use Anki to continue reviewing these sentences that I learn, and that's how I kind of get away with not coming back to it. So I have used Duolingo to learn to type, and you can see if I hit the, I don't know what it's called, the Windows button on my keyboard, and then also use the space bar, it allows me to cycle through these languages. So you can see Spanish, English, Hebrew, and Greek are the keyboards that I have on there. So I'm going to type out this. I learned to type using Duolingo. It took a while, but I can do it pretty well. Sacolata. It needs an accent on it. Say enan pithico. Okay. And then I'll type that out in, actually I can just copy and paste it in English. It's always convenient to copy and paste. Copy and paste, and then I'm going to save that in my Anki deck so it will come up again, and I'll review that, not necessarily just for the vocabulary, because I know all of this vocabulary pretty well. Dino ti sacolata se enan pithico. But in this, I also see ti sacolata. Why is it ti? Why do they use that direct object marker with sacolata? Because it's the feminine, and this is using a feminine version of the word here. Se is not always to or whatever. It can be different versions. So se is what goes with enan pithico. So you kind of have to know those different structures to use Greek appropriately. I'll go through one more example on here, and I'm not going to make you guys keep watching me learn. I'm just doing this as an example. So here's a nice one. I can copy and paste this word if I need it. If I already know the word really well, in all of the grammatical structures, then I don't put it into Anki. There's no sense in that. I don't want to need to review something that I already know really well. But it says, Agapo ton antra ke ton elefanta. So I love the man and the elephant, the elephants. So this is a plural, or no, it's actually singular. Okay, so I messed that up. Maybe I should put this in, but I'm not really planning to. Ton elefanta I should know is singular, but this is one even though I did just mess that up, I'm still not going to elect to put it in yet, because I know that I'll learn. Just because I messed it up that once, I still realize it immediately, and am going to, not mess it up again. So, agapo ton antra ke ton elefanta. I love the man and the elephant. Kind of a silly sentence, but the goal of Duolingo, I can't speak and do this at the same time, the man and the elephant. The goal of Duolingo is not to, just teach you these box phrases. It's to introduce you to the basic vocabulary and sentence structures of the language. So it's a long-term kind of thought process, not like, I see people criticize Duolingo, and sometimes they're justified in their criticisms, because it can be an effective waste of time if, depending on the scenario, but it can also be effective. So it's good to use it appropriately, but sometimes the criticism is they don't like these sentences, these, boxed phrases. They don't think they're applicable to life. But that's only really an argument if you're only learning, like, popular phrases so that you can order at a restaurant and get around. If you're actually studying the language so that you can speak, integrate yourself into the culture through speaking to those people on the internet, watching television, well, then you need to know how to do all those things. You can't just learn a bunch of phrases, and you have to be able to think in the language. And so when I see people criticize things like Duolingo for having silly phrases, I don't think that's a very good criticism. It expresses more about their view of language learning. So I can't think of the guy's name. He's very popular on YouTube, but when he criticizes Duolingo, it's usually like, oh, he's making fun of these sentences that they use. Well, that kind of shows how he views language learning. He's viewing language learning in the sense that he's learning all of these different languages and he's just learning like phrases from them, as opposed to like actually learning to think, converse, and be part of the language. And then, of course, if he continues to criticize Duolingo in saying that, it can be distracting. It doesn't take you very far. It's a beginner resource. Well, that's accurate. He's right in that, so I agree with him in that sense. But, that's the criticism of hundreds and hundreds of language learning people and enthusiasts on, different forms of social media. So, sometimes I think those criticisms are justified, and sometimes I don't. But anyway, so I'm not going to keep you guys any further. Thank you for watching. Let me know any things that you would like to see in future videos in the comment section below. And any comments you have about this, any thoughts that you have, I'd appreciate them. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't done so to keep up with future videos and things. Make sure to hit that like button, or if you dislike the video, then you can dislike. But if you hit the dislike button, please tell me what it was you disliked about it and what you disagreed with. I would love to hear your input. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon.